I'm 95 years old. My name is Opal. I worked at the courthouse here in town for 34 years, filing papers nobody else wanted to file. Birth certificates, marriage licenses, death certificates. I'm going to tell you something now that you're not going to want to hear. 5 years after you die, almost nobody is going to be thinking about you anymore. Not your boss, not your neighbors, not most of the people sitting in the pews at your funeral. I'm not saying this to upset you. I'm saying it because I've watched it happen more than 40 times. But before I tell you how I know, I'm going to tell you the only 3 things I have ever watched outlast a person. Stay with me. You need to hear all 3. My husband's name was Earl Hatfield. We were married 51 years. He died in 2013, right out in the back garden, tomato plant in his hand. Heart just quit on him. Earl was somebody in Asheville, you understand? He sang baritone in the choir at First Methodist for 40 years. He coached Little League. He fixed every busted lawnmower on our street, and he never once took $1 for it. The bagger at the Ingalls knew him. The mailman knew him. The kid at the Shell station knew him. Everybody knew Earl. When he died, the line at the funeral home was out the door. 3 pastors got up to speak. There were people there I hadn't seen since 1972. I remember sitting in the front pew thinking, well, at least he'll be remembered. A man like that gets remembered. About a month ago, I went to the Ingalls for milk and toilet paper. The boy bagging my groceries was new, maybe 19, sweet kid. He smiled at me and he said, "You new in town, ma'am? Don't think I've seen you before." "I have been shopping at that Inglés for 51 years. I smiled at him and I said no, I wasn't new. And I walked out to my car and I sat in the driver's seat for 20 minutes, I think, maybe longer. I just sat there. Then I drove home and I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I opened the metal recipe box on my kitchen counter. It doesn't have any recipes in it. It has the funeral programs of every person I have outlived. I started keeping them in 1968. I don't know why. It just felt wrong to throw them away. I tried to count them that night. They were more than 40. And I sat there and I tried to remember the last time I'd thought about each one of those people. Not the abstract idea of them, actually thought about them, their voice, the way they laughed. For most of them, you know, I couldn't even remember. Then I did the math on Earl, 13 years gone, the man who knew everybody. I tried to count the people in this town who still think about him on a regular basis, people who say his name out loud, people who carry him with them. I got to 4, including me. And here's the strange part. I want you to listen to this carefully. I sat at my kitchen table that night and I expected to feel destroyed. And I didn't. I felt something else, something I haven't felt in 50 years. I felt free. Now I'm going to turn this on you because I'm not telling you this story for fun. You are spending your one life, and I mean this, trying to look right to people who will not remember you. That neighbor who was rude to you in 2009 and you still think about it. She's not going to remember you in 5 years. She might not remember you next Tuesday. The sister you haven't called because she said something at Christmas in 2018 and you decided that was that. She's going to forget the fight before she forgets you. You both will. And then one of you will die, and the other one will sit in a funeral home wondering why you wasted the time. The boss whose approval you're still chasing at 58 years old. He doesn't think about you when you're not in the room. He doesn't think about you when you are in the room. I know that's hard to hear. The cousin who didn't invite you to the wedding. the friend who moved away and stopped calling, the father who never said he was proud of you. Listen to me. Whatever they thought of you, whatever you're afraid they thought of you, they are not going to be thinking it long enough for it to matter. You are running your whole life based on what these people think of you. And in 5 years, they're not going to be thinking about you at all. They'll be in somebody else's recipe box, or in nobody's. Most people stop listening here don't, because I haven't told you the part that matters yet. I told you I'd tell you the 3 things that actually outlast a person, so let me do that now. 3 things, that's it. After 95 years of paying attention, I've only ever found 3 things that survive past 5 years. The first one is kindness when you didn't have to be. I'll tell you what I mean. In 1981, a woman came into the courthouse to file a death certificate for her son. 23 years old, car accident. She was alone. She didn't have anybody with her, and she didn't know how to fill out the paperwork. And she started crying right there at my window. I closed the window. I came around to her side. I sat with her for 45 minutes. I didn't have to. There was a line behind her. My supervisor was unhappy with me about it for, the better part of a week. That woman is dead now. She died in 2007, I believe. But every Christmas from 1981 until the year she died, I got a card from her. Every single one. And after she died, her daughter started sending them. I got one last December. I have been remembered for 45 years because of 45 minutes. That's the math. The second thing is the truth you told when lying was easier. Earl had a brother named Walter, drank too much. Walter was about to lose his marriage and his job and probably his life, and the whole family was tiptoeing around it. You know, the way families do. Earl drove out to see him in 1989, and he sat across from Walter, and he said, "You are killing yourself, and you are killing your wife, and I am not going to pretend with you anymore." Walter didn't speak to Earl for 2 years. Then he got sober. He stayed sober for the rest of his life. He spoke at Earl's funeral. When Walter's grandkids talk about why they have a grandfather they got to know, they say Uncle Earl. 40 years later, some of them never even met him, but they know his name. The third thing is the children you raised who raised children. And I don't mean blood. I want to be clear about that. I mean pattern. The way you treat people becomes the way the next generation treats people, whether they share your last name or not. I watched my granddaughter Caroline rock her baby last spring. She was humming something to him, and the way she was holding him, the angle of her shoulders, the patience in her face, that was Earl. Holding our daughter Ruth in 1962. Caroline never met him. He's been dead her entire adult life, but there he was, in a kitchen in Charlotte in 2026, rocking a baby he'll never know. That's what survives. Not your name, not your money, the way you loved people. That's what gets passed down to the next ones. I've still got that recipe box on my counter. 63 funeral programs. I know which ones made it past 5 years and which ones didn't. And I'll tell you, it's almost never the ones with the longest obituaries. It was the kind ones, the honest ones, the ones who raised somebody by blood or otherwise to keep going. You don't have to be remembered by everybody. That isn't the goal. I'm not even sure it's possible. You just have to be remembered well by somebody. So go figure out who that's going to be. Go be kind to somebody who can't pay you back. Tell somebody the truth they've been waiting for. And teach a younger person by how you live how to live.